Sit. Spin.
Okay.
I would have looked at that.
I see.
Sit. Shake. Want to call? Shake. Speak. Speak. Go boy. Stand. 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 Go boy. No.
Okay, yeah. Don't let him go out. And maybe we'll just hold on for like 1 minute till everybody gets out.
Do you have anybody coming in Wednesday with the pet?
Here, I don't think so.
Okay.
You want to bring those two critters?
I was gonna bring Grace and then another dog of mine you haven't met yet.
Okay. Email me and then I'll check. I know
I
I've got
will.
a dog this afternoon in my afternoon class.
Okay.
I cannot remember. I'm not positive. It's like
Okay.
50-50.
You're
but
fine.
Yeah, just email me.
I will.
Yeah.
Thanks. Since we're all
He's like, no.
I want to do this.
Stick something in the mouth.
Okay, yeah, no, I can do this. Let's see. Oh, I see one of these things.
I'll
Yeah.
let you give him a treat first.
Okay. So what do you? This is for this class
Hold the treat
here,
in
right?
front of him and give it to him after because we don't want the treat getting in the swab.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. So what would you want to put something down for that one?
I don't. I'll have to look. I'll write it down in a sec. I don't remember what I.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't.
I have it written down.
Okay, why don't you
And
check
there.
and then because we got time to do this. Okay, it sounds like we're ready to go. I'm just looking for stuff up here. We have Cooper, and it's Ashley and what's Micah. Micah and Ashley and Cooper are here. After class, we're going to do a swab. Alyssa and Ethan will help us. And I know I told you this before, but I want to give you like a running travel log on this stuff. This is the Embark kit. That's different than if you were with me last semester. We did, what was that called? Wisdom Panel. Wisdom Panel 4. I still have some of those. But Alyssa, I think, told me about this one where it does more, supposedly. The other kit was $85. This one's like $200. So every time we do a little swab up here, it's $200. And we're going to do about 6 of them. And the kicker is the other kit came back in 2 to 3 weeks. When they get the kits, on the email they send me, they say, expect your results in 1 to 2 months. So it'll be near the end of the semester, even before Stella and Shell. Well, I probably sent them about a week after I got them back, by the time I did the computer stuff. So anyway, I just want to keep you there running on that. And if you happen, if the semester ends and you want to see how this came out, go to my website and we'll put it on there. But it's very interesting. And then while I have this document cam up here, I wanted to talk about something that'll come up on the presentations. And it's the designation where you get a statistical analysis, and it says P is less than 0.05 or P is less than 0.01. Now, a lot of you have taken stats, so what does that mean? What does the 0.05 mean? Did we do productive outside, by the way?
Only number one.
Okay, well, that's okay. That's better than nothing. What does that mean? P is less than 0.05. Because if you ever do science or look at articles, you'll see that number sometimes. Sometimes you'll see the P is less than 0.01, and there should be a sentence you make. Now, of course, this could be on the next exam, right? So, I mean, you're paying attention. Right, Chris?
Is it the probability that the information is incorrect?
Well, it's a probability, and here's how you say this 0.05. Like, let's say you get some result, and I'll show you. But that's how we ended up last week. So, like, if somebody says the heifers that were bull exposed reached puberty earlier than the non-exposed, and then they put P is less than 0.05, the way to say that in a sentence is the probability of this happening would only by randomness happen 5 out of 100 times. That's what that 0.05 means. Or if it's 0.01, that's even better, and it's saying the probability of this result happening by randomness is only 1 in 100 times. Okay? And when you go to scientific meetings, somebody will say, the probability is 0.05 or the probability is 0.01. And I'll point that out because I know somebody had a good question on the data that was winter versus summer. And I want to go back to that again because we don't do a lot of data analysis, but there's certain questions you can ask, and they'll never say this is due to the treatment 100%. That's the kicker. They'll never say that. Okay, so I wanted to bring that up. And then next on my list is to show you something I've got here. Because we're still talking about pheromones. And what was the boar pheromone? Aldosterone, right? And you can buy it in a bottle. It's called boar mate. And I've got an interesting story. I'll click on this one. This is the one I'm familiar with there. I guess something else is called hog mate. I don't know if you remember, I probably can't get it high enough to show you what the chemical is. I don't know if I'll have it. Anyway, boar mate. I think it's made in England. And somebody last week had the phrase lock up. You know, when a gilt or a sow is in heat, in estrus, they lock up. If you put both hands over the lumbar region, they arch their back and then are basically immobile. And it works better if you have a boar. But what if you don't have a boar? What if you just have like one sow, and this is a real example, and you want to check to see if they're in heat because maybe you're going to do artificial insemination with some semen that you don't have to have a boar. Well, supposedly if you spray this around the nose and they're really in heat or close to heat, it'll help them lock up better. Okay? Now, do you remember when we were talking about boar taint last week? This is all kind of a rehash here. Do you remember how I said some people can't smell that? There's a certain percent. And when I was at Nebraska, I've got two little stories with this stuff. One time my advisor, what was my advisor's name? The Z name. And see, the thing is, there might be on the next test, there might be some people. What was the Z name? Zimmerman, Dr. Zimmerman. He knew this couple outside of Lincoln, Nebraska that had a pig running around the yard, but they didn't have a boar. And somehow he liked them, so he said, okay, if you think then goes a gilt. If you think your gilt's in heat, I'll send somebody out to inseminate the gilt. Guess who was volunteered? Me. So here's this gilt running around this yard. It's like a pet. And I had a bottle of this stuff, and it was so hilarious because I think it was in January. It was very cold, and I'm spraying this bottle, and ends up being, I don't think she was ever in heat, and I didn't inseminate her. But that can be used that way. And then another thing is, one of the graduate students, when I was at Nebraska, went down the hallway spraying that stuff. Just walked down the whole hallway, unbeknownst to anybody. And then what he would do is he'd sit at the end of the hallway, and when the secretaries came out, he noted their reaction. Like somebody would go, oh, what's this stink out here? You know, because some secretaries would smell it and some wouldn't. It was kind of a gag. Anyway, that's boar mate. Okay, so now what I want to do is go to my presentation, and I know we have one of my presenters today is sick, but Amy is here, but I'm not going to do Amy. Where did Amy go? Yeah, there's Amy. I've got about 10 minutes, and then I'll have you come up and do your part. Okay, so what I want to do is this one again. And there's Zimmerman's name. So this is unpublished. So what that means is, hey, we just got it done. We haven't had time to submit it. Or the experiment didn't go as we thought, so we're never going to publish it. Right? Something was wrong with it, or something was not right. So here it was. He checked with the board, yes or no. Is he eating something?
Yeah, something. Drop it.
Okay, drop it. Okay, you get it. Good. good. Could everybody check the floor to make sure there's no, was that gum?
It was candy.
Okay, candy? Yeah, we usually do that. We try to make sure there's no bad things on the floor. I forgot to remind everybody. Did you find something? Thank you. Okay, another piece of candy. Good. Okay, anyway, with this stuff, he checked with a bore, yes or no, in the winter, and look at it. If you have no bore, 53% were in puberty by 225 days, but if you had the bore, you went almost to 90%, okay? Now here's the thing, hopefully it was about the same number of, it doesn't say if it's gilts or sows, but well, it has to be gilts, right? Puberty. It doesn't say the breed, and it doesn't say the number, right? So you can compare these two numbers, hopefully they did it right, I know Dwayne would do it right. The summer, because somebody had a question last time, what's the difference? Because here you only have 14% when there's no bore present, but if you have a bore, you got 74%. So now, I don't know this experiment, so you couldn't compare these two winter versus summer. Who knows, it might be breed, that's another thing that differs with puberty, the breed of the animal, right? So you gotta be careful. The only thing, and maybe somebody in the audience knows, does anybody know, and I haven't looked at this for a while, does anybody know that, like say you have another treatment here. Here's the other treatment I'd like to see. Check with a barrow. B-A-R-R-O-W. Why would I say that? A barrow is a castrated male pig, usually castrated quite young. Because the one thing I'm a little foggy on is maybe it's the presence of just a stranger coming in and not truly the boar androsteno, right? And maybe early on they did that, I don't know. But I would really like to go back, I never have, and said, hey, if you have a barrel, just a big barrel, usually don't keep those around very long, but you could for an experiment and bring one in, but anyway. So supposedly the barrel wouldn't have pheromones. Okay, let me shut this off for 1 second. Okay, so now we're moving on. Now I'm going to talk about bulls. Because this effect has been noted in bulls too, and then when you talk about bulls, you got to talk about heifers. And I summarize this, so you don't have to read it all, but I wanted to show you, here's the probability, how they talked about an interaction between bull exposure and growth rate. I'm not going to really do much with it. But P is less than 0.05. So this difference would only come up by chance 5 out of 100 times. That's what they're saying. And some would say this is a significant difference because it wouldn't happen by chance very often. Okay? And we're going to talk about mean ages at puberty here in a little bit. But they had one experiment, they had 70-day exposure, and then the second experiment, look at 175 days exposure. Okay? So that's quite a difference. So then I read that yesterday, and then I made a little table. Okay, so let me summarize that. Now, if you're familiar with pig production, the boar exposure isn't 24 hours a day. You bring in a boar and you take them into the pens in the morning, let's say, and maybe at the night. That doesn't work that way for bulls. You can't do that. You don't bring a bull in and then say, we're going to go home now. You put the bull in there for a continuous 24-hour, whatever, how many days, right? You just don't do that with bulls. So that's the difference. This would be 24-hour exposure. So experiment 1 was basically saying how many heifers had reached puberty by 14 months. So that's another thing you should know. Heifers reach puberty about a year, 13 months, whereas pigs, what is it, about 6 months, right? 6-7 months for gilts. So although there's no numbers here, they had, here's how it is, bull exposure for 70 days, and they said that the ones that reached puberty that little star means to me significantly earlier than the non-exposure, okay? They didn't have numbers on that one. And then I'm going to make a little sidebar here about CL function. Because if you don't monitor CL function, do you know animals that are coming into puberty may express estrus but never ovulate? And you got to be careful about that, because let's say a heifer's in estrus, but she never ovulated, therefore she never reached puberty. Remember, the definition is release the gamete into the duct system. So you've got to somehow monitor CL function, because the CL, if you remember your physiology, the CL forms when the follicle ruptures. And how do you monitor CL function? What would you say in this experiment? So I'm trying to put in a little physiology here. How would you monitor CL function in, you have 50 heifers out in this pasture. Check progesterone levels would be the best. So that means you run through a chute, take a jugular blood sample, and do progesterone. Because, not 100%, but progesterone means probably a CL around. Okay, especially for heifers. The other way you could do it, which would be less accurate, is to rectally palpate. If you're familiar with cattle, you can do pregnancy check. This is the arm I use, because you're always supposed to use the arm that you don't write with. Because then if you're by yourself, you can write with your free hand. But that's not as accurate as blood progesterone, because it's an art to feel the ovary and think there's a feel of CL. Okay, so anyway, but the other experiment had data. So in experiment 2, look at 175 days of bull exposure. That's 24 hours a day. Remember, you don't run the bull in like the boar. That doesn't work. They took 2-time weekly blood samples. And I'm going to show you a chart of the profile of progesterone in cattle. And you need to do probably twice a week, okay? And then they were measuring progesterone. So, and the other thing they did with this experiment is they had growth rate differences. They had like moderate growth rate or high growth rate. So let's look at these two right here. For bull exposure, if they were fed better, they reached puberty earlier. Okay, that kind of makes sense. And then if you didn't have bull exposure, look at, you're up into 428 days, which is longer than any of this stuff up here, but it's very close to 422, right? So bull exposure helped, because that average would be what, about 400, and this average is like 430 or something like that. So you have a couple, maybe 1 or 2 estrus cycles more at the same age. And what was the benefit of that? What's that? More fertile, and in the gilts it would be more ovulations, but in heifers there wouldn't be more ovulations, would it? Because most heifers, one ovulation. But the reproductive tract would be more able to carry a pregnancy, even after a couple estrus cycles in heifers. Okay, so anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting experiment. Definitely shows the bull effect, then we have the boar effect. And then, oh yeah, I was going to show you the profile of progesterone. So here's the bovine estrus cycle. And you might want to write this down or watch a video later. So days of estrus cycle, usually when a heifer or a gilt is in heat, you call that day 0. Notice on this graph, day 0 should be probably over here. Day 0 is estrus, and if you know, so notice how I'm throwing this physiology in. Do you know cattle are only in estrus about 18 hours? How about a gilt? How long is a gilt or sow in estrus? Any pig people out there? About a day and a half. Anyway, So supposedly estrus would be a large follicle, then it ovulates and you get this progesterone peak. So this is progesterone on the y-axis. If the animal is pregnant, you maintain progesterone. But if it's not pregnant, then you drop progesterone and cause another estrus, or another estrus comes about 21 days. Notice progesterone, nanograms per mil. That's 10 to the minus what? 9. 10 to the minus 9 grams. Very small. Okay, but I'm going to show you a case where heifers came into estrus, but here's what the progesterone did. Watch. So some heifers, when they're approaching puberty, might show estrus, but never ovulate the follicle. And it's called non-puberal estrus, NPE. Ashley, how are we doing, okay?
Yep.
A little impatient, huh? We need somebody to play with. Okay, so here it is, non-puberal estrus in beef heifers. And I'll make this pretty quick here. But anyway, the point is, sometimes heifers will show estrus, but they're not everything's coordinated enough to ovulate the egg and to make a CL. And so the kicker is, it's most likely that the follicle grows, makes estrogen, but it doesn't ovulate. Usually, anytime a follicle ovulates, you would automatically make a CL. So it's not like it ovulates and doesn't make a CL, right? See that? It makes a big follicle, but that follicle doesn't rupture.
Is this phenomenon mainly only to cattle?
Versus what? Are you talking about like pigs?
Like other
Yeah.
livestock?
I'm not sure how much it's been looked at, to be honest. Because how would you verify this? They took blood samples and did progesterone. So you got to record estrus behavior. You got to take blood samples, and then for an individual animal, you'd say, okay, here's heat. Was there a progesterone rise or not? And so what they found in some heifers was there was heat, but there was no progesterone. And I'm not sure, it would be a neat little thing. I'm sure probably some gilts do it, but you have to do the blood too. Otherwise, you don't know. That's a good question. But be aware that just because an animal is in heat doesn't mean that it ovulated. Okay? Okay, I think I'm going to be, let's see, that's basically the same thing. I don't think I was going to get anything out of that. Okay, let's have Amy come up. Amy's going to do the Vandenberg effect, right, Amy? Yeah, okay. I'll show you this laser pointer here, and let's see, Amy. Okay. So do you have your stuff started? I'll let you find it. Maybe I can't find it. Oh, okay. That's where it was. Okay, so here, and we'll make that bigger. See this? Great. See this right here? Okay. I'll get out of your way. Okay, let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Today I will talk about the Vandenberg effect. The Vandenberg effect is a phenomenon reported by J.G. Vandenberg in 1975, in which an early introduction of first estrus cycle in prepubertal female mice occurs as a result of exposure to the pheromone present in the urine of male mice. So this is another example of the alternation of the reproductive function caused by pheromone. When the pheromone present in the male's urine get into the veneronosal organ or the Jacob's organ of the female mice, the signal is sent to the hypothalamus where the GnRH is produced, and because of which the early estrus is induced. Interestingly, the Vandenberg effect has also been seen with exposure to adult female mice. When an immature female mice is exposed to the urine of an adult female mice, estrus is delayed. in the prepubertal female. In that case, the GnRH is inhibited. The Vandenberg effect happens for a reason. This is because the female body will only take steps to begin puberty if there are available mates around. So she will not waste her energy on puberty if there is no males. Okay, thank you.
Could you go back to that first one?
Yeah, sure.
Go back to the first slide because we're all in this together. And maybe if you don't know how to spell Vandenberg, if I remember right, it's VANDERBERG. No.
VANDENBERGH.
Okay, the GH. Okay.
I need to write it down.
Yeah, go ahead. Write it down there large. Vandenberg. So there's another name to remember. He is really famous with this stuff. Vandenberg. I should probably try to find it. I think I got a book at home that he wrote a book this thick about pheromones and laboratory animals more than anything. Okay, so it's VANDEN for those that can't see it over here. BERGH. Okay, Vandenberg. Yeah, Vandenberg. Okay, so So I'm trying to summarize what you said. So when you have a male approach these females, it'll induce estrus, and the key is GnRH causes LH release, right? And then the follicles grow and you get estrus and so forth.
Yeah.
Does anybody know the estrus length, the estrus cycle length in mice? Because remember, cattle is 21 days, pigs it's 21 days. Now I'm throwing a lot of physiology in here on a Monday. Estrus cycle of mice.
I feel like it's almost as soon as they like give birth, because if you have like a male with them, when they give birth, they get pregnant. Like,
Okay, now you're saying puberty. I'm saying estrus cycle length, but we can do both. My question was from estrus to estrus, right? Remember on the chart I had cattle was 21.
Google.
No, don't do it. Yeah, 3 to 4 days. 3 to 4, maybe 5 days. I mean, all the time, right? And puberty is incredibly fast with the rodents. What's that?
It's usually like 4 weeks.
Yeah, like about 4 weeks is a good number. 28 days. So that's why you can have so many rodents fast. I mean, they multiply really fast. Okay, so then the other thing I thought Amy made a good point of, so the male will induce puberty, but the female will inhibit puberty. Right? That's what you basically said, Amy? So then you go to the next slide where it shows the brain, because your picture was better than the one I showed a couple days ago. Enlarge it a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Remember, and this chart is very good, remember how the vulmonasal organ is ventral and rostral, whereas the main olfactory epithelium is dorsal and caudal, right? So here versus here, and then the other thing is the vulmonasal organ is like a cigar-shaped structure that's hollowed out cigar, but it's blind-ended. Only one end is open on the cigar. And so how do you know is the technique for getting sense? The Flamen response, yeah. Okay. So did he find something else?
Yeah.
Cooper, what do you got? Ah,
He swallowed it.
did he?
Yeah, he's really good at that.
Hopefully it was just something. Okay. Thank you, Amy. Let's give Amy a slow round of applause. You know how sometimes dogs go crazy. Okay. So then I'm going to, I know I had one presentation that when she comes back, hopefully Wednesday, we're going to do what's called the Bruce effect. But what I'm going to do is do another effect, and I'm going to have to search for it. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Here's the other thing. Let's do cohorts for the next test as well, okay? So here's where the test line draws for next Wednesday's test. Through cohorts, because cohorts are very similar to the pheromone thing. That's not exactly. Okay, so now I want to talk about one of these other effects. We're going to do Bruce effect. Somebody's going to present that on there. But I want to go down to the bottom because on the bottom of this are some other effects. And there's the Vandenberg effect. Is that, yeah, exactly how you spelled that there. Let's do the Lee Boot effect. Okay. So now, in rodents, they have all these names of these phenomenon based on pheromones, okay? So we have Vandenberg effect. Bruce will hear about from a student presentation on Wednesday. And the Lee Boot effect is suppression or prolongation of ester cycles of mature females when mature females are housed together and there's no males. So it's like, think of a bunch of mature females, and supposedly there's some suppression, or lengthening of ester cycles in this case. Usually urine is the medium that brings this about, because here's another thing about these rodents. So it's a urine mediated, you know, the pheromones in the urine. So if you have this effect, you don't really have to have the live animal there. You just have to have urine soaked bedding, right? So then you can bring in another animal without another animal around and you'll get the same effect because it's urine soaked bedding that's the urine there, okay? So supposedly you lower luteinizing hormone, and again, if you lower luteinizing hormone, you also lower GnRH from the hypothalamus. Okay. And then there's this thing called pseudo-pregnancy, where you know that's where the animal acts pregnant, but there is no pregnancy, pseudo-pregnancy. Okay, so that's the Lee Boot effect. And let me do one more effect here. Let's do the Coolidge effect. Okay, now the Coolidge effect is more on males. It's more of a male thing. And males exhibit renewed interest in new partners. Okay? And you can even see this with bulls and boars. If, like, say, for the last 20 days you've taken the boar into the same pen, exposed them to the same females, like the gilts, if you take him into a new pen that he's never been before, it's like he just had his battery charger, you know, recharged. It's called the Coolidge effect. Okay? So supposedly, and this is basically a male phenomenon, okay? Okay, I think I'm going to end there because I don't want to do the Bruce effect, and we're going to do the swab. And Alyssa, I think we're going to do it on the floor because the dog doesn't like to get up high. And we'll see everybody else on Wednesday. Yeah, and just hold. Oh, he'll do tricks? Okay, hold on. Let me get my camera going then. We just want to make sure he doesn't escape out the door.
Yeah.